Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is right around the corner, and the question on everyone's mind is, who is Rocket Raccoon? As we saw in the trailers for this movie, we will definitely be introduced to his MCU origins in this cap to the Guardians trilogy, but there's no need to wait for the movie. In this video, we're going to be exploring Rocket Raccoon's origins from the comics and what we know heading into the movie. Rocket Raccoon is one of the most lovable characters in the entirety of the MCU for his sarcastic remarks and for his heartfelt connections to Groot and the other Guardian members. However, Rocket does have his own past, and it's not as lighthearted as the rest of his story. In fact, Rocket has one of the saddest backstories in the entire Marvel universe, and that's saying something considering pretty much every single Marvel superhero has either lost their parents or their love interest. So make sure you have a tissue box nearby, superhero fans, because a few tears might be shed over the course of this video. Without further ado, grab your snacks and welcome to TSI's explanation of Rocket Raccoon's origin story. Okay, so centuries ago, alien humanoids called the Shrinks settled in the Keystone Quadrant star system. Here they built a complex on the largest planet in the system, its name unknown, to treat the insane. The Shrinks recorded their medical observations in a diary, which was called Gideon's Bible, but when their funding was cut, they abandoned the project. However, they created a robot staff before abandoning the project to care for the insane that they were housing. The Shrinks then separated the Keystone Quadrant from the rest of the galaxy. But if there's one thing we know from pop culture, never trust a robot. After the Shrinks left, a nearby star went nova, and the radiation from the star gave the robots sentience, and they decided that, well, they didn't want to do the job either. These robots used genetic engineering to give intelligence to the animals of the insane patients, and gave these animals the jobs they had held of caring for the patients. The robots then relocated to the other half of the planet, now called Half-World. The animals continued to care for the insane patients, called loonies, but not to be confused with the Bugs Bunny type, and the robots continued to provide support in the form of equipment, weapons, and toys. Yes, toys. Toys were actually a critically important part of Half-World culture, as a form of entertainment for the loonies. If the loonies didn't have access to the toys, they fell into a deep sadness. Obviously, the animals wanted to avoid this as much as possible and made it a priority to produce these toys. But now it's time for the main star of the show, Rocket Raccoon. Rocket was one of those pets of the insane who then became the sheriff on this planet Half-World, and then he goes on some adventures that we don't really need to go over with his sidekick named Wal-Rus, who totally isn't a walrus. But I mean, Groot is so much better, right? Ah yes, Groot. Rocket's iconic sidekick that everyone knows and loves, maybe because of his only line, "I am Groot." That literally means everything and anything in the MCU. I mean, seriously, we need like a dictionary or something to translate all of this. But it's definitely because of Vin Diesel.
I don't have friends. I got family.
I mean, this guy gets paid $54 million per each Marvel movie he's in as Groot, and he has probably the easiest lines in the entire MCU.
I am Groot.
Oh, by the way, in that clip we just played, Groot just said subscribe to TSI. But in all honesty, Groot and Rocket have a special connection in the MCU, but the real question is, how did they meet? Okay, so at this point, Rocket is kind of like a bounty hunter of sorts. He goes around the universe doing random jobs for people, most likely for money, because let's be honest, who actually does stuff for free, especially these days? And this is how Rocket and Groot met on one of Rocket's jobs. Not much is known about how Rocket and Groot met, and it hasn't really been explored in the MCU, but we get some hints from a few comics. So basically, on one of Rocket's jobs, Rocket gets captured by the Kree and was being held prisoner by them on Aladon Prime. We won't be getting into the allegations, but on Aladon Prime, Rocket meets Peter Quill and his team, made out of Bug Deathcry. We don't know who those guys are either. Mantis, Captain Universe, and of course, Groot. At first, just like everyone, Rocket was annoyed at Groot's literally only line, but eventually he gets used to it and even understands him. Seriously, Marvel, where's that dictionary? Rocket becomes the technician weapon store of the team, like he is now for the Guardians of the MCU. The team was sent to Hala to destroy a biotech facility. During this attack, the team was attacked by the Phalanx, and Groot was killed. But fear not, it's Groot and he's a tree. He catches up to the team a few days later, this time no bigger than a twig. But then Quill arrives with horrid news. The Phalanx released an airborne virus on the planet, and everyone was slowly getting infected. Guess everyone's going to get a 2-week break. Yeah, but anyways, a lot happens. Rocket and Groot get captured, they escape, Groot dies again, and now he's a twig. But this time, Rocket saves him to plant later. And since then, Rocket and Groot's fates have been intertwined forever, and they are some of the best friends we've ever seen in Marvel. So does this mean that the MCU's versions of Rocket's backstory include strings, robots, wal-rus, everything we've talked about for basically the entire video? Well, not quite. Of course, the MCU doesn't always follow the comic lore, and I think we can expect the same for Rocket's origin. But that doesn't mean it won't be talked about. In fact, it's going to be a huge part of the plot. But I think that the connection here will lie within the High Evolutionary, not the Shrinks. Basically, the MCU version of Rocket is called Subject 89P13. Yeah, sorry, lots of numbers, but we're just going to refer to him as Rocket because, well, that's his name. A group of alien scientists brought Rocket to Half-World, which in the MCU is still in the Keystone Quadrant. Here he was genetically engineered by the High Evolutionary. If you didn't know, the High Evolutionary is Herbert Edgar Windheim, a scientist who serves to make lower life forms into enhanced species. The High Evolutionary enhanced Rocket in very harsh and torture ways. We got a glimpse of this in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1.
Well, I didn't ask to get made. I didn't ask to be torn apart and put back together over and over and turned into some...
But other than that, that's about all we know. And I guess that means that this video is over. So thanks for watching, like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Oh hey, while you're here, feel free to enjoy the 2 videos that show up on your screen right now. Alright, see ya.